You get butterflies, I get nervous, but if you do it one time, you're hooked. And that's my opinion, I guess. I was born in Hendricks, and I've lived in White my whole life. Been pretty much farming my whole life. I started derbying like a month out of high school. I was 18, and that was the summer of 2006. So this will be my 13th summer. I've been doing it for 12 years. There's a flyer at the gas station, and I always watched my dad do it when I was little in the early 90s, and I just try to be like him. So that's kind of what got me started and what's keeping me in it. And otherwise we do the stock classes. They're a cheaper build. They only take a weekend if you got a buddy or two. But no, I think this car took me 3 weeks to build, but usually if it's a rainy day, you'll find me in the shop working on the car. Otherwise, you might only get an hour or two. And I mean, you have your bad days too. Some days the car will run good and you don't have any problems. Some days, something small will happen where a wire gets pinched or a gas line gets pinched and you're done in 1 minute. So it can go either way. You never know, I guess. Well, when I build my car, I put a lot of miles on just walking around it, and I look for weak spots where I don't want to get hit, and then I use that knowledge in the arena to hit other cars in those spots. And I try to make my shots count, and I try to stay out of people's way. I try to do more hitting than getting hit. So as long as the car is running good, doesn't overheat, or you can usually do pretty well.
I think it had been about 15 to 16 years since we had the last Demolition Derby. So it was a little bit different back then, of course, but I remember we had for years as a kid, and they stopped doing them and we brought them back last year.
Yeah, it was just started for the town celebration. Figured it'd just be local people, but word got out, and with a good reputation, I guess, word of mouth can be your best friend. And next year, I think we'll get some more cars, even more than we had this year. So
we started with a small committee, and it was mostly the residents, and they were mostly men that had been driving in area events. It grew quite a bit in the second year, and we see it growing again next year, and we keep thinking, well, we need more admission gates. And there's, White's such a good town, everybody volunteers to help. So it hasn't been hard asking people to help. We have lots of volunteers. They have to sign waiver forms, and they had kind of brought some back, and we tweaked what we had seen.
you have to take all the glass in the interior and trim, headlights, taillights, plastic. You have to take all that off to get started, and then you usually get a fuel cell to put in the back seat. You put your battery in the front passenger floor, and then you just got to go by the rules, what you can and can't do. And the rules are different every place you go. Well, if somebody's got an old car in the trees that run, they're just tired of looking at it, that's all it takes.
I bet there's 50 people that help with this. I mean, we ask the volunteer fire department, they volunteer their time to do that. Our EMTs in White, they volunteer their time. We have our announcer, he's local. I mean, we try to keep as much local as we can. So it's not like everyone does these. It's a lot of work. Some towns do tractor pulls, some do volleyball, mud volleyball tournaments. What will hopefully be known as the Small Town Demolition Derby.
There's nothing better when you're the last car running, last car with the stick on, crowd's cheering. It's an unbeatable feeling, I guess I would say.